Welcome to 5 Good Minutes,
Considering the Season of Advent
with Jonathan Thede.
Welcome back to 5 Good Minutes. This week we are taking some time to look at John chapter 1, what's often referred to as the prologue of John's Gospel. What this means simply is that John is taking some time to tell us before he tells us, give us a big, high overview of who Jesus is before he talks about Jesus' life. To introduce today, I want to talk about this idea of Jesus being the way. So we've established the fact that Jesus has come, but why did he come, and how do we receive him? And to introduce this, I want to talk about the movies that came out over the past year in the Dune franchise. If you haven't heard of this, it's called Dune, D-U-N-E. And there's a lot of Messiah themes, and really there's this idea that the main character, Paul, is the Messiah. And so the people that have come, they're kind of split on him. Some people think that he is, and some people think that he's not. And of course, this is a very passionate thing because the Messiah figure in this series, Dune, he's the person that's going to be the hero. He's the chosen one. He's the person who has been prophesied about. Well, why do I bring this up? Well, I bring this up because just as the people of Dune were split, so are we. This passage reminds us that we have a choice in whether or not we receive Jesus in faith. Do we believe he is who he says he is, or do we believe that he was just a person in history? So just as we've done the past couple of days, I want to look at this theme of the way or receiving Jesus. Let's look at where we see it in John chapter 1. Let's look at what it means, and let's close with why it matters. Where do we see this idea in John chapter 1? First place we see it in verses 9 through 13. It reads, "The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, nor of human decision, or a husband's will, but born of God." And then a couple verses down in verses 16 and 17, it reads, "Out of his fullness we have all received grace in place of grace already given. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ." What do these two passages mean? How are we to make sense of what it means to receive Jesus as Lord? Well, in our first passage, verses 9 through 13, we see a few things. We see, just like we saw a couple days ago when we were talking about the light, is that the light was accessible to all. When Jesus came, he did not come telling secrets, he came for the world. John 3:16, just a couple chapters later, reminds us that for God so loved the world, there was a universal access to Jesus. But secondly, we see that the light was rejected by some and received by others. It talks about how Jesus came and some received him, but some did not. And then finally in this passage, we see that those who believed he was the Messiah, the Lord, the chosen one, they were given life. We continue to see this pattern in John chapter 1 of light leading to life. Then our second passage, what we see in verses 16 and 17, is that we receive Jesus not by doing good deeds, but by believing. Our believing is what leads us to being born again. Again, this idea of light leading to life, leading to new birth. This is the same example we see over and over again of the disciples, of Peter and John and the rest. They believed that Jesus was who he said he was, and that led to being spiritually reborn. And so this is what we see. And so let's look at why it matters. How is this relevant to our lives? Well, these passages talking about receiving Jesus reminds us that though it is God who saves completely, we have a role to play. It's not that we earn our salvation, but we must believe in the gospel. We must believe that Jesus is who he says he is. Secondly, it reminds us that it is possible to reject Jesus, to reject his lordship. We face that so many times in our lives where we see areas of our life where God has not yet reigned and ruled. And thirdly, it emphasizes the importance of being born again, not just following the rules. And so to conclude, to wrap up, I have a very important question to ask you. When you think about your religion, your way of following Jesus, has it been marked primarily by faith and belief in Jesus for who he is, being the Lord of your life? Or is it merely following rules? Does your faith look like faith and belief, or does it look like just following the rules so that you don't get in trouble? I want to encourage your heart today that we come to Jesus not by following the law, but that we come to him by believing he is who he says he is. And I pray that you believe today.
Thanks for joining us here today. There's a lot of great content to explore on Orchard Hill Plus and on the Orchard Hill main feed from the weekend. Have a great day.